There's a moment every man faces, alone, silent, invisible. It's that sting in your chest when she pulls away, when your messages go unanswered, when you realize you're giving everything and getting nothing. You start asking yourself, what did I do wrong? But maybe the real question isn't what you did, it's who you've become. Because the truth is brutal. You've been orbiting her world when you should have been building your own. And until you shift that center from her back to yourself, you'll keep chasing something that was never yours to begin with. She hears more than your words. In every pause, every glance, every unsure breath, you're revealing yourself. And often, what she hears is doubt, insecurity, hesitation, not because you meant to say it, but because your energy spoke first. That alone can kill desire faster than any wrong word, because desire, especially in women, is never commanded. It's never negotiated. It's reactive. She doesn't plan to want you. She reacts to the energy you carry. When you radiate certainty, calm, grounded, unshakable presence, something stirs in her, not because you asked her to feel it, but because she couldn't help it. You doubt, she cools. You lead, she melts. That's the paradox. And this is where Stoicism becomes not just a philosophy, but a way to move through the world as a man. A Stoic doesn't ask for permission to lead. He doesn't plead for approval or wait to be told it's okay to move. He simply moves, with presence, with clarity, with calm direction. If she objects, she will say so. But what surprises many men is that she rarely does. Most of the time, she was waiting for you to stop seeking validation and finally step into your masculine presence. Think about this. You're at home with her. Things are flowing. She's laughing. Her body's relaxed. Her eyes keep drifting toward you. The moment is alive. You feel the pull. And yet, instead of leaning in, you interrupt it. "Can I kiss you?" you ask. The room stiffens. She looks at you with that half smile that says she's not sure anymore. She was ready, and now something in her pulled back. It wasn't her logic. It was the sudden shift in energy. You brought doubt into the room, and she felt it instantly. Now picture a different man, one who doesn't speak his intention, but lets it breathe in the silence. He meets her gaze. He moves closer, slowly, without rush, without need. No words, just presence. His energy tells her everything, and because she doesn't feel pressured, she responds. The tension rises, not the kind born of uncertainty, but the electric current of trust and attraction. He doesn't force, he leads, and she follows, not because she has to, but because she wants to. Have you ever felt the moment slipping? Not because it wasn't there, but because you doubted it? Like trying to hold water with open fingers, the more you grasp, the faster it disappears. But what if the real power was in stillness, not control? And here's what most men miss. Female desire is not logical. It's not based on a checklist or a timeline. You could be the kindest man in the room, the one who listens, the one who waits, the one who never offends. And still, she may feel nothing. Why? Because her body doesn't respond to politeness. It responds to presence, mystery, energy. It isn't processed in her head. It stirs in her chest, her gut, her breath. You can't earn it with bullet points. You have to awaken it. And that only happens when you stop trying to be what she says she wants and start being what she can feel. She'll tell you she wants a sensitive, caring, stable man, and she's not lying. But often she finds herself drawn to someone else entirely. Someone who carries danger in his eyes, mystery in his silence, conviction in his walk. Not because he fits the mold, but because he makes her feel something. That's the uncomfortable truth. What she says isn't always what stirs her. If you mistake her words for a roadmap, you'll stay lost. And this is where men break. "But I did everything right," they cry. "I waited, I respected, I protected. And now she's with a guy who doesn't do half of that." They feel betrayed by logic, not realizing that desire was never about logic to begin with. It's an emotional current, a silent storm And storms don't care how perfectly you planned the day. What if the map you've been using to reach her heart was drawn in the wrong language? What if she's not asking for a guide, but for a signal, a current, a pull she doesn't have to explain? Here's the deeper layer. It's not that she doesn't like you. She may. She may admire you, enjoy your company, even feel safe with you. But if you don't awaken anything within her, if you don't stir that primal part that wants to follow, surrender, feel, it dies. Not because you failed, but because you played it too safe. You were too available, too predictable, too reasonable. Desire doesn't bloom in predictability. It blooms in presence, in mystery, in the knowing look that says, I'm here, I want you, but I don't need you. That's when she starts to feel it. That's when you stop trying to convince her and she starts wondering about you. Your words won't get you there. Your posture will, your stillness, your self-respect. She doesn't need to be told you're confident. She'll know the moment your energy enters the room. And this brings us to one of the most overlooked truths. Your sexual energy speaks louder than your voice. A lot of men try to talk their way into intimacy. They rehearse the right lines, memorize charm, think if they just say the perfect thing, she'll feel it. But if your body doesn't believe it, neither will she. You can claim confidence all you want, but if your shoulders cave, your eyes dart, your breath stutters, she hears that. And what she hears is need. She doesn't listen to your lines, she listens to your silence, to how your body speaks when your mouth is quiet. So ask yourself, when you walk into a room, what do you say without speaking? And here's the hard truth most men were never taught. You've been trained to hide your desire, to water it down, to package it in politeness, dress it up in nice behavior. You suppress it so hard that when it finally shows, it's either explosive or invisible. And then you wonder why she doesn't feel anything, why she says you're sweet but doesn't want to kiss you. You've minimized your fire hoping it would keep her comfortable, when all it did was leave her cold. But a stoic man knows the middle path. He doesn't suppress his desire. He doesn't chase it recklessly either. He masters it. He feels it fully, powerfully, but never becomes its slave. And that presence, that controlled intensity, that's what ignites her. Not your resume, not your effort, but the unspoken energy that says, I'm grounded in who I am, and you're welcome to join me, but I don't bend to be chosen. A woman knows, instinctively, when you're standing in your power and when you're begging for attention. She feels it in the weight of your gaze, in the steadiness of your silence, in whether your presence says, I hope I'm enough, or I know who I am. That's why Stoicism matters. It's not about being cold, it's about being centered. A Stoic man feels deeply, but is not owned by what he feels. He wants without needing. He leads, not with force, but with direction. That's the man she feels. That's the man she follows. But here's where most men fall apart. In their reactions. A text goes unanswered, a message read but no reply, a look that feels colder than before. And instantly, like clockwork, the mind starts spinning. What did I do wrong? Is she losing interest? Should I text again? That anxious spiral begins. But here's the thing. That spiral isn't just internal. She feels it. You think you're hiding it well. You think your tone sounds calm. But women read emotional signals with radar-like precision, and the second she senses that your inner state is tied to her behavior, you lose ground. Because now you're not a man, you're a puppet. She pulls and you move. She turns and you chase. You've surrendered your center. And no matter how much she liked you before, she can't respect a man she can emotionally manipulate. Even if she doesn't say it outright, her desire slips away. It's not malice, it's instinct. A woman is biologically wired to test for strength, not just physical, but emotional strength. The kind of strength that doesn't flinch under pressure. The kind that isn't thrown off by silence, mood swings, or passive-aggressive games. The kind that stays still, even when everything around it tries to provoke a reaction. That man, the Stoic man, isn't cold. He's composed, he feels, but he doesn't get dragged by every passing emotion. He observes, he breathes, and he chooses his response. Not to please, not to react, but to remain in alignment with who he is. That's what makes him rare. That's what makes him irresistible. Because while every other man is busy trying to decode her every mood, he's too focused on his path to need her approval. Imagine standing in the eye of a storm, wind howling, rain crashing, chaos swirling, but inside, you're still. That's what a woman feels when she meets a man who doesn't flinch. And that stillness is magnetic. She doesn't fall for you because you chase her. She falls because she can't move you. That's the secret. Not indifference, not cruelty, but unshakable calm. When you stop reacting to her every signal, when you stop needing her to validate your worth, she begins to wonder, who is this man? And why do I want his attention more when he's not giving it? Most men are trapped in emotional dependency. They believe their value is measured by how a woman responds. If she's warm, they feel secure. If she's distant, they collapse. But a grounded man doesn't tie his identity to a woman's emotions. He sees them, he acknowledges them, but he does not submit to them. She ignored me. Fine. She gave a one-word reply. That's her mood, not your mission. Your purpose doesn't pause just because she's unpredictable. And the irony is, when you remain centered, she begins to stabilize around you. This is the moment things shift. You stop orbiting around her world. And suddenly she starts orbiting around yours, not because you demanded it, but because your energy no longer depends on her. You're not asking, how do I make her happy? You're asking, does this woman add peace, clarity, and strength to my life? That subtle change electrifies the dynamic. She no longer feels your need, she feels your standard, and that drives her wild. Ask yourself, are you walking into relationships like a man interviewing for a position, or are you the one building the kingdom and deciding who belongs inside? The cold man repels, the reactive man exhausts, but the centered man, he ignites her, because he's not easy to predict, not easy to read, not easy to control, and it's that uncertainty laced with respect and calm that awakens her desire. She tries to test you to see where your boundaries crack. But when they don't, when you stay composed, unfazed, even slightly amused, she's pulled out of her emotional power and into her feminine energy. You've just flipped the script. Now she's the one wondering, why doesn't this man need my attention? Why isn't he chasing me like the others? What's different about him? And when those questions echo in her mind, her games dissolve. Her guard softens. She stops performing and starts pursuing, because what she sees now isn't a man desperate to be chosen. She sees a man already chosen by himself. That's the kind of presence that leaves a mark, not because you raised your voice, not because you flexed your achievements, but because you radiated such calm certainty that she had no choice but to feel it. You didn't plead for her time, you didn't push for intimacy, you simply stood, quiet, grounded, complete. And that's what makes her lean in. That's what makes her say, are you always this calm? Or, you're so hard to read, it drives me crazy. She's not confused, she's attracted, because now the power isn't in your words, it's in your energy. What if the real seduction isn't in what you say, but in what you don't? In how long you can hold eye contact without flinching, in how calm you can stay in the face of emotional fire. And then comes the moment, quiet, subtle, almost unnoticeable, when she opens the door without even realizing it. You're sitting next to her. The night is still. You haven't touched her, haven't pushed, just talked, just listened, just been. And suddenly she says, are you staying a bit longer? Or, with you, I feel strange, like nervous. That's not confusion. That's vulnerability. That's desire. She's not asking with her words. She's showing it through her energy. And why? Because you didn't try to force the moment. You provoked it by being fully present and emotionally contained. This is the power no one teaches, the art of silence, the strength of stillness, the language of masculine presence. And when you master it, she feels safe to choose you, not out of pressure, but out of pure desire. But here's the uncomfortable truth most men aren't ready to hear. If you have to ask for sex, you've already lost. I know that stings. But it's the kind of pain that wakes you up, the kind that invites you to step out of the role of the beggar and into the presence of a man who doesn't chase because he doesn't need to. If you ever find yourself needing to convince her, needing to explain your feelings, needing her permission to be desired, you're not in desire anymore, you're in negotiation, and no real attraction ever grows there, because when it doesn't come from her, when it isn't born from that silent pull inside her chest, what you get isn't intimacy, it's charity. That's a brutal word, but it's the only one that fits, and deep down, you've felt it. That moment when she says yes, but with no real passion. When her body is present, but her soul isn't in the room. That's not connection, that's compromise. And compromise is not what you were born for. You weren't made to beg for attention. You were made to radiate presence so deeply, so unapologetically, that her desire rises on its own. That's the power of the Stoic man. Not through manipulation, not through tricks, but through self-mastery, through a life so rich with meaning and calm intensity that even silence feels like gravity around you. What if you stopped trying to earn a woman's desire and started becoming the kind of man whose energy awakens it without effort? Real power doesn't ask, it provokes, not loudly, not desperately, but naturally, with how you carry yourself. With how you walk into a room like it belongs to you, not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. She sees it in the way you look at her, not with hunger, but with depth. Not like a boy hoping to be liked, but like a man who already knows his worth and doesn't need her to confirm it. And if she doesn't feel it, you don't beg, you don't chase, you move forward. Because your life is not on pause. Because you're building something bigger than approval. You're sculpting discipline, carving peace out of chaos, forging strength from solitude. And in that energy, everything about you shifts. She no longer sees you as one of many. You become one of few. The kind of man who isn't overwhelmed by emotion, but guided by it. The kind who doesn't collapse under pressure, but deepens. The kind who makes her feel something she can't explain, but doesn't want to lose. You don't get there by faking confidence or memorizing lines. You get there by doing the work, the internal work, the lonely work, the kind of work where no one claps for you, where your only audience is your own conscience. You train your mind, you sharpen your awareness, you become comfortable in silence, in waiting, in choosing when to act. And women feel that. They may not understand it logically, but their instincts never lie. You're not like the rest, and that's what lights something primal inside them. Can you feel the shift in yourself when you stop needing anything from her and realize that all you ever truly needed was already inside you? You don't have to shout your value. You just have to embody it. You don't have to demand attention. You simply stop chasing and let your energy speak louder than any words ever could. That is the heart of masculine presence.